nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere.
Here's a pack of 3 elites. This is on tier 14. As you can see, on their power level is 157. We walk in casually, protected from with our Sulig injured setup. Now we teleport in to pull them together thanks to our Raymond chest. We cast Frost Nova, which now lasts for more than 4 seconds since we get bonus crowd control duration from both the Helm and the Exploiter's aspect from our boots. Shatter passive also starts, which checks the amount of damage these guys are taking during the freeze period. Static balls of lightning starts to form immediately since the teleport has an almost 100% lucky hit chance. One of the archers hit us and procs the fear vampiric power, which means from now all our hits will be guaranteed critical hits. The freeze finally expires, and 25% of all our damage made during the freeze duration will now be reapplied thanks to the shatter passive. So there it is, we just melted a tier 14 pack with just a level 9 ball of lightning, since we're wearing a Sulig amulet without any mastery skill bonus, and we also don't have a Shako, as we have already mentioned many times during the video. So after a good 100 or so drill runs and not finding a Shako, I was almost gonna call it quits and play the fun builds instead. But during the process, I figured out a few interesting ways to close the higher tiers without a Shako. I'd like to share them with you, and hopefully it'll clear a 1 or 2 tiers. One thing I have noticed is that after tier 10, the lag when using the Ball of Lightning build makes the game almost unplayable. The lag is actually the biggest barrier after tier 10, and here's a few tips which might help. If you haven't already, you should turn off the crossplay settings on the connections tab. Go also and hide the damage numbers. I even went as far as turning down the graphic settings to low and even disabled the sound. For reference, I'm on an Intel 12th generation i5 paired with an NVIDIA 2060 Super connected via 5G wireless connection. But I'm still getting the lag on the big pools. The best solution that actually worked for me was to ditch the one in focus combo and went with a staff instead. The advantages of the staff is that the damage per tick on the staff is about double compared to the one in focus combo. Moreover, you also double the power of the aspect on the staff, in which we have imprinted the gravitational aspect, which gives us a 50 times multiplier, which will be active all the time. The disadvantages, however, is that first of all, you lose the 20% cooldown reduction, which I'm not too worried since this isn't a strict cooldown based build. You also lose a potential 7.5 crit chance, resource generation, and mana cost reduction, which I truly miss with the staff equipped. But not having the lag at the big pulls is a price that I'm willing to pay. The next major change that I made was to ditch the Firebolt enchantment for the Ball of Lightning enchantment instead. Having 3 sources of pull, namely Godslayer, Raiment of the Infinite, and the Fire Ultimate, the Ball of Lightning enchantment actually makes a lot of sense. This build is an AoE monster. We practically skip the Stranglers and look for big packs to perform our combo. I figured that the burning ticks from the Firebolt enchantment might also cause additional stress towards the network, and I might as well get a real tick damage from the Ball of Lightning enchantment. Although we're missing around 20 to 30% potential damage reduction from burning, at tiers between 1 to 15, the Sulig injured strategy is still holding up pretty well on the toughness side. And lastly, I've been using the Fear Vampiric power, which practically no one ever uses. Wearing a staff means you lose out on a potential 7.5 crit chance, and the fear power once proc gives us an enormous boost to our damage. Although you might think 14% is a pretty low percentage chance, you'll be surprised how frequent this actually procs, especially on very large groups of monsters. If you don't know what this does, feared monsters are guaranteed to be critically struck for 2 seconds. Godslayer has a potential of an up to 18% crowd control duration, which further increases the duration of the fear, and these rolls can also be found in offhands and other unique items. This 100% crit chance paired with the Shatter passive and proc together with Godslayer 60% buff for 3 seconds will melt any packs of elites within seconds. I'll be adding a link to the gear and aspects that I have used, as I don't want to make this into a 20-minute video. I'm mainly highlighting the important parts of the aspects and changes which bump me from tier 10 to tier 15, especially the lag part. It's not a 100% solution, and hopefully Blizzard will do something about the lag in the next season at least. I don't think the Selig setup would be able to clear any higher than tier 15, as most likely it won't be able to both mitigate the damage or have enough damage to clear the bosses. This is for the most part just a guide for casual weekend players. It's relatively easy to play and not very restrictive gear wise. The gear, well, the staff to be specific, is just a band-aid fix to lower the tick frequencies. If not for the lag, I would still choose to play with a wand and focus combo. Personally, the Abattoir of Zir has shown us how bad the state of the Sorc builds right now. There are no other builds that can come close to clearing the tier 10s that isn't based on Ball of Lightning. I think the HP of the end bosses are way overtuned, and builds that rely heavily mainly on AoE damage such as Ice Spikes, Blizzard, Fireball, Meteor builds, they have no chance of killing the bosses on a decent amount of time. They even practically struggle clearing T8s from my own experience, unless I sort of quote-unquote cheat and slot the Ball of Lightning as an enchantment. Lastly, I also think the Arbor Uniques should not be limited to Duriel drops only. It gets very repetitive and grindy very quickly. Blizzard should at least open the drops to world bosses maybe, or Zir dungeons. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great weekend, great holidays, and bye for now.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy. And silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa.